Shaun is considered one of the best players in the world. I would say that I'm like a level down from the expert players. Although, as I said earlier in the introduction, from what I've seen, the Finnish kids and the Russian kids are at the top of the food chain. Have you played some of the Finnish kids at all?
Yeah, I've played a lot of the Russians in Finnish, and they've just been playing the game for years. I mean, to the Americans, we got exposed to Open Face last year. I showed some people at the World Series, and we're all just new to the game. I mean, anytime someone's been playing game 4 or 5 years longer than you, they're obviously going to have a lot of the smaller things figured out already.
So if a young Finnish kid comes up and challenges you to play for a lot of money, you're going to do what?
I'll take a shot, but I'll probably start smaller. I don't like playing really big with people I've never played before.
Okay.
I think that's a good thing for all games, is kind of starting small.
What I did after I played for about a month, I told my girlfriend, we're going to be having a lot of this at the World Series, you got to learn it. And she and I were playing at home, and I wrote a document out of my observations to try to, because I'd played more than her, to help her get better. And so she read that and played, and she was beating some of the people we were playing. And then a month later, I read over my document, and I realized I was totally clueless. I had some good stuff and some bad stuff, but the bad stuff was really hopeless, like where to put kickers and stuff like that. So I edited it, rewrote it, and then I looked at it another month later, and I was still pretty clueless. And this game, you go through so many levels of learning different tricks and things. That's my recommendation. Take notes. Look at your notes after you play a while, and you'll see that you just get incrementally better as you play it.
Yeah, I would agree that the learning curve is so huge in this game. Early on, you're just like, there's so many progressions where you're playing to just not foul because it's so difficult to not foul. Then you get in this crazy royalty mentality where you just go for the world.
Too aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you find that little quell it back a little bit, and then you play a little aggressive when you have to be, your opponent's hands are too strong, or you play a little really nitty when their hand is so weak.
Yeah, and the detractors of Shaun's game think that he goes for fantasy too often, and the people he's beat think that he's just luckier than everyone else.
Yeah, I obviously ran really good in this game, and so it kind of hurts my reputation, but like Fantasyland, as you'll see, hopefully, is the whole point of the game. There's a reason why this is basically, name is switched from Open Face Chinese to Fantasyland, because that's the whole focus on the game.
Not everyone heard my introduction, so you might have to tell them about Fantasyland.
Oh yeah, for those not familiar with Fantasyland, you get that by making a legal hand, which means your back 5 beats your middle 5, which beats your top 3. And your top 3 needs to be at least a pair of queens. So you could make it with kings, queens, aces, or trips up top. Trips is very, very rare. And then once you succeed in getting into Fantasyland, the next hand you get dealt all your cards at once and play a regular 13-card Chinese hand with open face royalties, as well as, while in Fantasyland, you can stay in Fantasyland with a natural Chinese royalty, which is quads are better in the back, boat in the middle, or trips up top.
Okay, all that stuff was pretty complicated, but the main thing is queens up top or better is a monster, worth probably an equity an extra 12 points.
A little more than that, but
I
that's up for debate.
Yeah, I think it's actually less, but so whatever. It is.
That's probably why I go for it, as I, in theory and math equations, give more value for Fantasyland.
Right. Okay, so let's play. We're playing 10 euros, real money, per point. And normally, you're going to win either 1 point on a hand or 6 points on a hand if you scoop or the other guy fouls.
And obviously, heads up, you're going to see plays a lot smaller than 3- and 4-handed, where all the plays is multiplied. If you foul 4-handed, you're paying at least 18 points if no one else fouls.
And one thing really important, 3-handed, if you get good at heads up, 3-handed is very different because you get more cards out and you learn more about which cards are dead, which suits are dead. And 4-handed is even way different than the other two because now you really know. You'll see guys 4-handed have a 3 flush and not go for it because many of them are out, and put just a single spade in the back because they see no spades are out. So it plays really, really weird once you get to 4-handed.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing when you're 4-handed, you're on the button, and your hand's completely dead, and you just put all the cards in the middle of the top. I mean, it's crazy. It's great for anyone who plays any stud games because they're well aware of how live a hand is, how likely you are to improve it later on.
And you brought up another point. The button is valuable.
Yeah.
I think heads up, I'll tell you what I think, and then Shaun, who's played more, will tell you what he thinks. I think it's worth a half a point a hand.
I was going to say exactly half a point.
Okay,
as well.
I heard other people say more, but that's what my
I think it's heads up, no. 3- and 4-handed, it gets up to
4-handed, where you get to see so many cards, it could be worth more. Here's, let me see, I had another thought. I lost it.
Okay. So let's get a hand, and
Yeah,
hopefully he comes up with
let's
his
start
thought.
playing. Let's start playing.
We're going to start commentating back and forth. If he makes something I might say, I might not do that. And so we're just kind of going to go with it, and hopefully you get hooked on this game like we have.
One nice thing is there's a lot of bad players out there. If you get decent at this game, there's some easy money to be made.
Yeah, I mean, even at low games, like, people think that this is like regular Chinese, the amount per point is so small, but it's much, much bigger. Now, this is what I call a Fantasyland hand. Now, I wouldn't be myself if I didn't set it the way that I'm known for setting it.
Okay, and that is really aggressive, and a real aggressive set.
Like,
But
the more passive set would be the 3 flush, ace, queen, but I just like 6, 7 suited. It can be an aces, and I have the fantasy.
I'll then tell you the normal set. After what I think most people would do, which isn't this. Now, he's, of course, hoping, he's taking one of his flush cards out, but he's thinking, Shaun comes up with a lot of queens, aces, 2 pair hands.
Yeah, that's
and that's
the
like,
easiest way to
that's
get
almost like the
Fantasyland.
Shaun Deeb canonical hand. And that will just destroy people if you can get that frequently. Now, the way I would have played this hand is aces with a 6 in the back, queen in the front, not in the middle. The reason you play, here's how I would have played it. And the reason, someone may say, why isn't that dangerous putting the queen up? Queen in front is just a huge card. You find out when you play this game, the queen is just the right balance. Not only is it the pair that gets you into fantasy, but it gets beaten by an ace or a king in the middle enough that you don't foul your hand, or a pair. And so it's really huge to have a queen up front. And also, ace in the middle ends up being a really critical thing, because an ace in the middle is a very valuable thing to have, because you get to put a queen or a king in front and set yourself up for potentially queens or kings in the front, aces in the middle, and something that beats in the back. So those are, when you're starting out, you just won't believe how important an ace in the middle or a queen in the front is.
Yeah.
It's just much more than you could ever believe without playing. But anyway, this is the Shaun Deeb
This
set.
is the perfect hand where you see that there's 3 completely different strategies to play the hand, and every player can argue for days, and the math is too complicated to actually prove it.
And you might say, well, no, you can actually. I wrote an algorithm. I can actually solve this game algorithmically. But when I wrote the algorithm, like a computer, I was a computer programmer, and I calculated. Before I tell you how many calculations it is to play this game perfectly by computer. When I used to be a computer programmer, you could do things that would take 1 trillion operations, 1 followed by 12 zeros. But people know about, I think it's called Moore's Law, every 2 years or something, computing power doubles, or speed doubles, I think. And so I was a programmer in the 80s. So if you figure that out, we're now, what?
It's up there.
30 years, we've maybe got 5 doublings. Well, what that means, if you double 5 times, that's 2 to the, that's like 30 times faster. Well, that just gets you one more zero, a couple more zeros. So maybe now you can do something followed by maybe 1 followed by 14 or 15 zeros. The number of calculations in my algorithm to play this game perfectly is 10 followed by 165. Number of times calling my subroutines that compare the hands and figure out the highest equity. So it's really something like 10 followed by about 170 zeros is an exhaustive.
Just shows you how many
solution.
combinations this game is and why it almost will never be completely solved.
Yeah, so I could write the program, but it wouldn't run from the first step. And actually, the program I wrote is after the first cards are down, first 5 cards, to perfectly play the 6th card takes 10 followed by 170 zeros.
Yeah, and just think how many combinations there are out here.
Very, very complicated. Anyway, I've got 2 5s. I'm going to put my pair in the back.
The live pair as well.
And now, it's better to put a higher kicker, not the smaller kickers. And so you might say, why don't you just put a 3? Why waste the jack kicker? And here's the principle. If I put the jack in the middle and I make a pair of jacks, I'm going to be scrambling the rest of the hand to beat it. So unlike regular Chinese, I'll put the bigger kicker here and put some cards in the middle. And so looking forward, I'm thinking of a hand like jacks up, 9s up, and now go for the big pair on top. And I don't think anyone would play this hand differently at this point. But I'll ask Shaun, because Shaun has a bigger imagination than I have.
This is the simplest way to play the hand. Like he says, the jack kicker is very strong. You also have 9-3 suited, which backdoors into a flush.
It does backdoor
into a
very
small percentage of the time.
Really, really rare. If you start going for small straights in the middle and small flushes in the middle, you end up in this situation where you're 4 cards there, and you got something bigger on top, and if you don't bink it perfectly, you end up fouling, and so it's really a dangerous spot. Anyway, here we are.
Now for the fun.
Yeah, now we go 1 card at a time. And
Ooh,
I've got
another
position.
Fantasyland
so
card.
That's a huge card for him. Now immediately, if he catches a queen or a king, he's putting him up there. And then his scramble is going to be to make two pair or a straight or a flush in the back. And if you make two pair, it's really tricky, and Shaun's the expert at this, to not make aces up also at the same time.
Yeah, like the ace is probably the worst card in the deck for me to catch in the next street. I'm going to have to put it on top because I don't want to have trip ace in the middle, but then I have to make a straight or a flush in the back.
Yeah, that's a good point. You get in these hands, and I see people all the time get aces up dealt.
Yeah.
And the real aggressive one put the aces in the middle, and I've done it too. Your worst card is the third ace, because you would have had aces full for an extra 6 points and been on the way to having a good win, and instead you got an ace. Where are you going to put it? You're forced to put it up top because it's too dead to put in the back. You're not going to pair it again.
But occasionally
and
you
now
get that
takes up
beautiful
your hole.
fourth ace for Fantasyland. That is the secret.
Yeah.
The special Shaun Deeb is aces and aces.
Yeah,
I love it.
Aces and aces, but we're not all lucky enough to get the quads. Okay, so this is a good start. And even though you might say, hey, now you're in trouble, nines beat fives, you kind of just play with the mindset that if you have a pair with a live kicker, it's going to develop to at least two pair.
Yeah, you're a favorite with 5 outs with 7 cards to come to make a second pair. And also he can put another kicker down there to give himself 8 outs if he gets another
That's right. I may
card.
end up, if I don't get the jacks up or 3 5s early enough, I'll take a live card and put it down here. Hopefully higher than a 9, so I can still make the 9s up there. So a 10, and really, so he has no choice.
Fantasy. Well, I mean, I could put it in the back.
He has a slight choice to try to go for a flush, but it'd be a bad move because he used up a diamond here. I've got a diamond.
And also, now if I have the king back here, the 3 flush, if I get the queen of diamonds, I want to put it up top. So just keep the live cards. I'm going pair, like he said, the 4 pair is my whole goal.
That's what he's thinking. Now here, an 8, I could put it down here. It's a nice live card, but it doesn't beat 9s up. So very often what you do, you get a card, even if it's live. Now I have a definition in my document, what I call live cards. You hear people say this is live, this is dead. Well, here's what I say. I call a card live, actually, even if there's one of it out, it's not dangerous. I call it totally live if there's none of it out. This card is totally live in my nomenclature. If there was one out, I'd still call it live. If there are 2 out, I call it dead, because now you're in danger. There's only one of them left. And if there are 3 of them out, it's totally dead. So that's the language I use. I haven't heard anyone else describe it.
As soon as you said that, I said, that's the perfect way to explain it, like totally live. Because people say a live card, they don't realize at the end there's not a completely live card. So it's a good way to differentiate.
You will see people, especially 3 and 4-handed, putting a pair and waiting for a totally live kicker, and it never exists. They can go the whole hand and the board's out, and they end up fouling their hand because they never develop their bottom at all. But this is totally live, so it's easy to put it there. And again, I'm thinking 9s and 8s, jacks and 5s. Shaun took the big cards out. I very unlikely, but there still are 2 other aces. There's 3 other queens. If I catch a queen, I'm certainly going to put it up there.
He made a big mistake this hand. This 8 belongs up top. It is your nut royalty card. Did you not even consider that?
No, I didn't even think of it because it does. The 8s do go under the 9s.
Yeah.
And probably, so he's got a good point. And the point is, because he's taken all the big cards out of the way,
it's so simple for him to get Fantasyland.
I'm very unlikely to get queens. And so I might as well go to 8s, which gives me 3 points. 8s, 9s, and 2
It's his best possible royalty card with his 9s. And it's completely live. It's protected. You already have the overpair in the middle. And so that actually is the best card he can put up
I believe him, but it's too late. I put it here. We're playing for money.
This is why we play.
This is why we play. Okay. But...
All right. Another live card. It doesn't look like much.
But this is what I wanted for my play. Queens are live. And so now I don't feel as bad. Although his play still, I wouldn't doubt is superior. But I believe that I was wrong and you made the right play because of what you got. But now I'm still got a decent shot. 2 more queens are left. And I still, if I hit an 8 there, I won't mind putting it here and be well on my way to a shot at a queen at the end.
Little defense.
And the other hand,
that's a great card for me as a brick.
Yeah, he took my 5 out of the way. And the other thing that you got to be really cognizant of, sorry, I used that word, Devilfish might be watching this and it's too big for him. But you got to be cognizant of the fact that Shaun, he's got good news and bad news. The bad news is he hasn't developed the bottom at all. The good news for him, all 3 of these cards are totally live. So in his mind, because he's an optimist or he wouldn't play the way he does, he sees 2 pair automatic because all 3 cards are live.
Perfect.
9.
Worst card in the deck for him.
Yeah, worst card, because I can't put 3 9s there. I'm not going to make a hand in the back that beats that unless I magically catch a jack and a 5 or 2 jacks. And so I have no choice at this point but to put the 9 up there. I wouldn't put it here because it's a dead card.
And you can't. Then you would make 9s and 8s and 9s and 5s possibly, and then be in foul trouble.
Yeah, it'd just be it'd be a piece of waste paper if I put it here. So at least here, get it out of the way, have it not hamper my hand. Now, there's a small thought I might even get a 4th 9.
But
and have
then
9s with a queen, which unfortunately I now have to get a king down here.
And I have 4 of these,
yeah,
or queen as well.
But it is a thought. You know, it does come up enough to think about, especially if this were a 3-handed game and no 9s were out. It's more than even a fleeting thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, go. So what I'm thinking in my mind, I'm wishing he doesn't pair these. If he pairs one of these cards, I'm going to see, I'm on death's door, basically. And, of course, here, I really, at this point, have no choice. And that's, I've got to put it there and hope that I either make 2 pair here or I catch an ace or a king and put it there.
I would not do it. I would put that in the back. I would play a little safer.
Waste paper? Okay.
Yeah, because you realize how you have to improve your back and your middle now. There's so many bad cards for your hand.
And that's a really important principle in this game. And mathematically, or in physics, or in chemistry even, there's a term called degrees of freedom. And
this
what
is
that
so
means
advanced
is,
for everyone, by the way.
What that means is, the more spaces and things I have to put things, I've hampered myself to where I need 2 good things to happen.
Yeah.
And in this game, you usually want to make plays where you only need 1 good thing to happen.
Yeah.
As you're usually thinking. You'll often, as you evaluate plays, say, wait, I need both of those things. And just think as you're figuring probabilities. For 2 things to happen, it's a multiplying thing.
The first
you
thing has to happen
one
X%,
times
the
the
second
other.
thing
And so
happens as well.
So that number ends up kind of being pretty small. If only 1 thing needs to happen, even if it's like a 3-outer, it's probably going to be a higher percentage than 2 things needing to happen. Anyway, go.
Worst card in the deck.
Yeah,
besides
an aces is worst. That's the second worst because he either had to put it, he couldn't put it down here. He would be automatic foul zone. So and he used up all those spots. Shaun now is a heavy favorite to foul. So all I'm thinking, all I'm thinking now is okay, put that there, make my 2 pair, hit a jack or a 5, or make 2 pair that beats 9s up, and I'm in great shape. And right now my play, did it work out better than putting the 8 up top? Well, the 8 up top would have given me a hand. I'd have then had to put the 9 up, and that other 9 would have then gone down here. And basically, I'd be in a situation where I just need to improve the bottom not to foul, which is a little simpler than where I am. You might say, well, that's where you are anyway. Well, not exactly. I have to hit jacks, or I have to beat the 9s.
Yeah.
So the good cards for me right now are obviously 5 is my best, jack is my second best, 10 is my third best card.
Yeah, 10 is the livest card of all his kickers.
That beats the 9s up. But remember, anything lower than a 9 is a terrible card now for me because it doesn't beat 9s up. And I put myself in that position by that earlier play of not putting the 8 up. And Shaun, if he doesn't hit now, okay, of course, you can't freeze out Shaun Deeb. And I didn't even hit one of his outs.
All right, so 6 is obviously...
And I would have had 8s and 9s the other way and had a draw to beat it at the back.
All right. Now we all got to catch.
So now it's just, does he catch? He has lots of live stuff.
I caught your jack, though. A little defense.
He caught defense, and I caught nothing.
All right.
And so now let's look. Could we have done anything different?
I could have made, if I did my original way of other way would have been the ace-queen. I would have made my flush very early. Probably had ace-high, king-high, ace-high, queen-high, or ace-high, king-high, depending on what I decided
and my way, the nice thing about the way I suggested with the aces and a kicker is you're almost never going to foul starting out like that. You're in real good shape. I would have had queen, kings, aces, and a kicker.
And you would have to draw for queens
and just draw
very
a
long
queen,
time ago. Free rolling,
but been free rolling and never being in foul jeopardy.
Yeah.
So that would have worked out well. His other way would have worked out well. The gamble way, partway through the hand, it looked good. When he had the 3 live cards, he was a big favorite to put me in trouble. And now with me, I don't think I was ever going to not foul because once I started with 2 5s and a jack, I never caught away. Well,
you could have put the 8 kicker, but you would have never done that.
I wouldn't have done
the 9 kicker.
My only way out
was
would
the
have
9
been ending up with this kind of configuration. Putting the dead 9 down here.
Like I wanted to do, you would have made the.
I might have been able to get 8s, 9. Yeah, if I had put the 8 up like Shaun suggested, I might have been forced to 9 down.
You would have had to put the 9 in the back because you don't want to do queen 9 8 and lock it up. You still want to put in the back when you have 9s in the middle, 8 up top. So my way would have actually produced this hand.
And this would have been worth 3 extra here. Would have been a 9-point win.
Yeah.
So it looks like that. Where Shaun said I made the gaff, it looks like I paid for it 9 points worth.
And that's what's great about this game. Results is all that people care about.
And there's even a question with games that are new like this and Medusi. People always ask me, I wrote a Medusi book, right? And I write a Medusi book. The truth is, I had to pay $100,000 to learn Medusi and all the things I was doing wrong, and how it plays even differently when there's a straddle and not a straddle. And at this point at the life of the game, I really don't want to give it up because I don't want to give some of the things I've learned. This is a game like that. We're going to only play about 3 or 4 hands. We could give a tutorial that would help save people lots of money, but I've had to learn from my mistakes. It's cost me money. Why would I want to give away what I've been paying to learn? And Shaun has played longer than I have. So he's learned these things even better than I have. And it is a question, how much do you want to give up, really?
Yeah. All right, ready for another hand.
On the other hand, it's worth it to get people into these new games once you become a good player at them.
Yeah.
Because no matter how much you teach them, there's still, there's too much to learn, too much to assimilate. Go ahead, Tina. They don't get to see beautiful Tina, only the back of her head, right? Now I'm first. I have a bad hand. You know how you know it's a bad hand? Anytime you have a hand that plays well in deuce to 7, no limit, or even limit, you're in bad shape. I've got a 10 low and deuce to 7. So here are the possibilities. Well, one possibility is 2 flush in the back, some cards in the middle or front. Another possibility is just flat out 2 cards, 1 card. Just playing if they don't have suits and playing for just. And when you start out with this kind of configuration, in your mind you're thinking just pair, pair, pair.
Yeah.
And that's not a hopeless hand in this game.
I call that the Robbins Rocky. When we first started playing open phase, every hand he would set 2 highest, middle 2, lowest card, and just try to make 3 pair. And it won a lot of money.
I was going to say, against beginning players at the beginning, they foul their hands a lot, and if they play too aggressively, 3 pair is a winning hand.
Yeah.
Especially this little pair on top. You don't go for little pairs on top normally ahead of pairs in the back because they set you up where you have to make, you get constricted and have to make hands to beat that, and you'll foul your hand a lot. But if you set up like this, where you're not using them for flushes or other flushes or straights, now you have enough freedom that you probably can pair one of these cards here and here. It's not so tragic. But what I'm going to do is now, I hate this configuration, actually, and I'm probably not going to make 2 flush in the back is kind of nice if I get that way. But if I pair 8s and then I catch a 10, it puts me in such a bad shape that I think I'm going to go with what you called the Robbins Rocky.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do this very simple.
It's a good set out of position without any information.
Because I don't have information. And one of the things with putting 2 diamonds up, when he now shows me 3 diamonds, I'm saying, man, am I sick.
I have a much better starting hand than him. And now this is the king debate. Toughest card, I think, to play in a starting hand. Now, I'm going to put it in the middle, but I've gone back and forth like 4 or 5 times in my open face career with this exact starting hand, putting the king up top for the king in the middle. But since he has a 3, I'm going to keep the king here. So if he didn't have a 3, I'd probably
there are a few considerations. And again, his thing about the 3, for people who didn't understand, why did he care about the 3? He put it up top if the 3 was totally live.
Yes.
Because now he thinks, well, there are 3 of them. I'm going to at least make a pair of 3s. Gets me on the way to fancy land. But now it's just live. It's, like we said, semi-live, not totally live. The other consideration, if he saw a queen in my hand and not an ace, he'd put the king here because he'd say, well, it's easier to catch an ace than a queen for fantasy, so I'm going to put the king. He has a queen or 2 queens especially.
Yeah. If he has 2 queens, that's going up top.
That's automatic up top.
Yeah.
So really, your opponent's hand really does play. If I had an ace up top, it would immediately make him say, king down here, go for the queens up top. But anyway, let's go. So we're going to play this hand out pretty quickly because we don't have that much time. I'm going to put the 9, make it towards
that's
straight.
a good card.
Real good card for him. The 3, I'm going for it right off.
Yeah,
because I've got to try to. It's a layered hand. I've got to try to beat him in some.
And I have a very strong hand, so I'm going to end up with a strong hand, very likely, with a 3-card straight flush, a king, and a queen.
Already made the 6s, which is a good card.
I already made the kings. Shocking, I have Fantasyland sweats.
Yeah, Shaun always. Deuce is a nothing card. It's a choice. I might want to put it. Well, it's a live card. I don't want to make 3s and deuces. If it was a dead card, I'd probably just be content with 6s. But then on the other hand, I have to be kings there. So maybe I need to start things with 6s. Actually, I'm going to put it there.
Yeah, it's much better in the middle. Gives yourself flexibility.
Only because he's got kings and I need to beat them too.
Well, also, even if I didn't, if you put it in the top, now if you catch a 6 or a 4, you're in a lot of trouble in the back. And that's part of the reason.
Yeah, 6 would be horrible. Okay, so 7. I'm going here. There are no jacks out. I'm going for my straight.
And I have Fantasyland.
As always.
Obviously.
And he's in his usual spot of needing to beat 2 pair in the back. Okay, now I caught this queen, and at this point, the question is, do I want to deaden this hand? Of course, if I deaden this and catch a 3, I'm immediately going to foul.
There's only 1 3
and there's
left,
no
though.
jacks out. So I think I'm going to go up here. There are 4 jacks out and 2 6s. I can't make 3 6s because I'll put it here.
That's a big mistake. He only has 1 3. He should play it safe. Because if he catches a deuce or a 4, it's going to, now he needs to make it straight.
Yeah, he's got a point, because now look what happened.
Now he has more
if
foul
I put it
outs.
here, which is probably the right thing to do, I now can foul. If I put the...
He has 1 out to foul with that.
But now I have lots of outs to foul. He's right. I made a mistake.
We're playing too fast while we're talking.
Yeah, and so now it's a question. I could gamble here and hope to hit... Well, not only hope to hit or jack or 6. Actually, I can actually calculate this out. You get to this point, we don't quite have it. If we had enough time, I would calculate up, but we got it. But I would just go and see, right now, there are like 26 plus 3 cards left. There are 29 cards out. I would actually take the cases of the cards that matter and go through, but we don't have enough time to do this. I could actually figure it out in my head in about 3 minutes, okay, of what the exact right play is. But he looks like he may foul his hand. I actually think it's probably right.
Yeah, play it safe.
Play it safe.
I'm again down to 2 outs for Fantasyland. Big surprise.
He's got to hit a 9. And so as long as I don't hit a deuce 4 or 6, which I did, and so that mistake again cost me.
And we both.
And we both fouled.
Great
I shouldn't have
tutorial.
fouled.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have fouled. I screwed up by not putting this card here and just going for the 1-out foul. So that's the hands. Complicated game. 2 monkeys here. Both fouled their hands both times. That's the nature of the game.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You see, shocking. Barry played conservative like he's known for, and I played aggressive going for Fantasyland. And that's the 2 styles of open face, and it's an endless debate on which way is correct.
Okay. Sure.